So the end of this week found me in Grand Rapids, Michigan, for the annual meeting of the State Policy Network, where I was giving a few short remarks at the annual dinner for the Roe Award. And lo and behold, I walked into the bar, and who should I find but our own John Hinderaker, hanging out with some lovely ladies from Minnesota. In fact, they're from the center of the American experiment. I've got some fancy new camera attachment for my iPhone I'm trying to figure out how to use. I haven't quite got the focus down, and there are a few sound problems with outdoor shots, but lo and behold, we found we were right across the street from the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum and Library, and so we thought, why not revisit the Gerald Ford years?
Hello, Powerline readers. Steve Hayward and I are at the State Policy Network convention in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and over my shoulder here you can see the Gerald Ford Presidential Library, and driving by it reminded me of something I either never knew or had forgotten, which is I guess Gerald Ford must have been from Grand Rapids.
So John, what else do you remember about the Ford administration, us old guys here, right? I mean, it wasn't all as bad as we thought it was at the time, was it? Especially compared to today.
It had its bad moments. I think the Whip Inflation Now campaign must have been one of the most pathetic emanations from the executive branch. But one of the interesting things about the Ford administration is that a lot of people who became important years later got their start, either working in the administration or in Congress at that time. And they all seem to have fond memories, both of Ford and of that era. And one of my favorite facts about the Ford administration is that there was a time when Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld were running the wage and price control department for the Ford administration. And when they write about it in their memoirs, they didn't seem to see anything particularly objectionable or strange about people who were professed conservatives figuring out how to fix prices and to fix wages. And I think that illustrates the fact that while we conservatives feel like we're always in retreat, always on the defensive, and sometimes that's true, in some ways conservatism has come a really long way from the 1970s. Today, even a liberal administration would not set up an agency that would undertake to fix every price in the United States of America.
So yeah, what I remember those years, as well as Dick Cheney and Don Rumsfeld and others being kind of squishy, and even Alan Greenspan worked for Ford, right, it was during those years that supply-side economics got started. It was the famous lunch with Dick Cheney and Don Rumsfeld and Arthur Laffer at the Two Continents restaurant, and Laffer writing the famous curve on a napkin. So, I mean, it didn't come to fruition many years later. Another little-known fact about the Ford years is Antonin Scalia worked, I believe, in the Office of Legal Counsel of the Justice Department. And, yeah, so, you kind of look back then with some nostalgia on Ford, right?